In a quiet suburban neighborhood where picket fences and manicured lawns hid years of simmering resentment, Alex Rivera ran a small home renovation business out of his garage. He was a proud family man. His wife Sophia was 7 months pregnant, and his father Luis, a wheelchair-bound Army veteran who'd lost the use of his legs in Afghanistan, lived with them. Alex had bought the house years ago precisely because an old grandfather clause in the neighborhood covenants allowed light commercial activity on the property. It was perfect. He could work from home, care for his dad, and keep an eye on Sophia as the baby's due date approached. Everything changed the day Vanessa Hargrove became president of the Homeowners Association. Vanessa was the kind of woman who wore oversized sunglasses indoors and carried a clipboard like a weapon. She owned a boutique real estate firm with her husband Derek, who ran a competing construction company. From the moment she took power, Vanessa made it her mission to clean up the neighborhood, and Alex's house was at the top of her list. Started small. Vanessa would park her gleaming white Mercedes directly in front of Alex's driveway while she inspected properties nearby. At first, Alex politely asked her to move. She smiled thinly and said she'd only be a minute. A minute turned into hours. Delivery trucks couldn't reach his garage. Clients canceled appointments. One morning, Sophia, feeling contractions, couldn't get the car out fast enough to drive herself to the doctor. Alex had to carry her to a neighbor's vehicle while Vanessa watched from across the street, taking notes on her phone. Then came the fines. $25 for a trash can left out 10 minutes too long. $50 for a company van parked overnight, even though the grandfather clause explicitly permitted it. $100 for unauthorized signage, when Alex hung a simple magnetic sign on his truck. The notices arrived almost daily, each one signed with Vanessa's looping, self-important signature. When Alex appealed at board meetings, Vanessa dismissed him with a wave, claiming the rules had evolved, and his old exemption no longer applied. Neighbors whispered that she was targeting anyone who didn't fit her vision of the perfect community, especially families of color, veterans on fixed incomes, and anyone who dared run a business from home. Alex tried to stay calm for his family's sake, but the stress was crushing. Luis's VA appointments were missed because Vanessa's car blocked the accessible van. Sophia cried at night, terrified the mounting fines would force them to sell before the baby arrived. Alex began documenting everything: photos of the Mercedes, timestamps, copies of every citation. He noticed patterns. Vanessa only blocked driveways belonging to people who weren't using her real estate services. She issued violations to homes the day before they went on the market with rival agents. Derek's construction bids mysteriously underpriced everyone else's after certain homeowners received sudden, crippling fines. One evening, while reviewing security footage, Alex spotted something that made his blood run cold. Vanessa was rifling through mailboxes at the community cluster box, pulling out envelopes and photographing them before slipping them back. He zoomed in. She was copying pre-approval letters from mortgage companies, then calling those homeowners the next day with exclusive listing offers. It was identity theft by proxy, feeding leads straight to her brokerage. He started digging deeper. A friend at the county clerk's office helped him pull records. Vanessa's Mercedes had expired tags for over a year. Her driver's license had been suspended after too many moving violations. The HOA bank statements, obtained legally through a records request, showed payments to a landscaping company that didn't exist, invoices signed by Vanessa herself and paid to an account in Derek's name. Thousands of dollars meant for road repairs and community events had vanished. Alex knew confronting her directly would backfire. Vanessa thrived on drama and had half the board in her pocket. He needed allies. Quietly, he reached out to the neighbors she'd targeted. The young black couple fined for a basketball hoop, the elderly Filipino widow threatened with foreclosure over paint color, the Marine veteran whose holiday decorations were deemed excessive. One by one, they shared their own folders of evidence, videos, emails, recorded phone calls where Vanessa bragged about teaching people their place. They formed a small, determined group. A retired attorney who lived 3 streets over offered pro bono help. Together they confirmed the grandfather clause was ironclad, filed in 1978 and never amended. Every fine Vanessa had issued Alex was invalid. More importantly, The attorney discovered a little-known provision Vanessa herself had pushed through 2 years earlier. Any vehicle parked in a fire lane or blocking access during a community event would be towed at the owner's expense, with no reimbursement from HOA funds. She'd written it to punish teenagers parking near the pool. Now it was about to become her undoing. The neighborhood's annual holiday gala was the social event of the year. Held in the clubhouse, black tie optional, catered, with Vanessa always arriving fashionably late in her Mercedes to make an entrance. This year, the planning committee, secretly now including Alex's allies, designated the curb directly in front of the clubhouse as a temporary fire lane for the evening. Clear signs went up. Emails went out. Vanessa, distracted by her latest scheme, didn't notice. On the night of the gala, Alex wore a suit for the first time in years. Sophia stayed home on bed rest, but Luis insisted on coming in his wheelchair, dressed sharply with his old service medals pinned to his jacket. The room buzzed with forced cheer as Vanessa swept in, champagne flute already in hand, accepting compliments like tribute. At 8:15 p.m., right on schedule, a licensed tow truck arrived, contracted privately, paperwork impeccable. Vanessa's Mercedes, parked exactly where she always parked, was hooked up and gone within minutes. She didn't even notice until she stepped outside for air an hour later. The meltdown was spectacular. Vanessa screamed at the security guard, threatened lawsuits, demanded the board president, herself, override the tow. But the contract was clear. Owner pays all fees, no exceptions. Storage accrued daily. And because her tags were expired and license suspended, the impound lot wouldn't release the car without proof of registration. Proof she couldn't provide without admitting her violations. As the gala continued awkwardly inside, Derek, Vanessa's husband, approached Alex in the parking lot. His face was pale. He'd had enough. Years of covering for her, cleaning up her messes, watching her destroy lives for profit. Quietly, he handed Alex a USB drive. On it, scanned checks, falsified invoices, emails proving discriminatory targeting, even a recorded voicemail where Vanessa laughed about driving out undesirables to raise property values for her listings. By morning, certified packets went to the state real estate board, the district attorney, and every homeowner. The USB evidence was irrefutable. Vanessa's brokerage license was suspended pending investigation. Criminal charges followed for theft, fraud, and mail tampering. The HOA board called an emergency meeting and voted unanimously to remove her. The fines she'd issued were voided overnight. Reparations were made from the recovered embezzled funds. Alex's driveway stayed clear from that day forward. His business thrived. Sophia gave birth to a healthy daughter in the new year. Luis rolled down the sidewalk without fear of blocked ramps. And whenever a gleaming white luxury car cruised slowly past the neighborhood, residents smiled knowingly, because they finally understood that rules are only as strong as the people willing to enforce them fairly. Years later, children in the neighborhood still told the story like an urban legend. How the queen of the HOA fell because she parked one too many times in the wrong spot. But the real story belonged to the people who refused to move. Maria Gonzalez lived 2 doors down from Alex. She'd moved in after her husband passed, raising 3 kids alone on a nurse's salary. Vanessa had hated her from day one. Too many cars in the driveway, too many family barbecues, too much life in a house Vanessa wanted empty and staged for a quick flip. Maria received fines for everything. Chalk drawings on the sidewalk, a faded flag on the porch, even the color of her front door. When Maria listed with a different agent, Vanessa suddenly claimed the roof shingles violated code, forcing expensive repairs that nearly bankrupted her. Maria was the first neighbor Alex confided in. She brought tamales and tears, then brought evidence. Her son, a tech-savvy high school senior, had set up a driveway camera after the 3rd tow threat. The footage showed Vanessa slashing tires on cars belonging to families who refused her husband's inflated bids. Another neighbor, retired Sergeant Parker, contributed dashcam video of Vanessa running stop signs while on HOA business. Proof her license suspension was earned. Together they built a timeline. Every fine correlated with a real estate closing that benefited Vanessa or Derek. Every block driveway belonged to someone who'd turned down their services. The pattern was undeniable. The retired attorney guided them on open records requests, teaching them how to phrase demands so the management company couldn't refuse. Slowly, the paper trail grew thick enough to choke on. The night of the gala, Maria wore bright, defiant red. She stood near the entrance watching Vanessa hold court, laughing too loudly, touching arms possessively. When the tow truck lights flashed outside, Maria felt no guilt, only relief. She'd spent months terrified of losing her home. Now she watched the architect of that fear unravel in real time. In the weeks that followed, more residents came forward. A young veteran couple showed texts where Vanessa threatened to report them to ICE if they didn't remove their backyard play structure. An elderly Korean gentleman produced recordings of Vanessa mocking his accent during a hearing. The evidence painted a portrait not just of greed, but of cruelty. Derek's betrayal sealed it. He'd stayed silent for years, embarrassed by his wife's behavior but profiting from it. The tow bill, thousands in storage fees he couldn't claim on insurance because of the expired tags, was the final straw. Handing over the drive wasn't redemption. It was survival. But it worked. Prosecutors used his cooperation to build an airtight case. Vanessa's downfall was public and total. The local news ran stories for weeks. Her brokerage shuttered. Derek filed for divorce, taking what remained of their assets. The Mercedes was eventually auctioned to pay restitution, bought ironically by Sergeant Parker, who turned it into a veteran transport van painted desert camouflage. Alex never sought revenge for its own sake. He just wanted his family safe, his father respected, his home secure. But in protecting his own, he freed an entire community. New board members were elected, diverse, reasonable people who updated rules transparently and waived years of invalid fines. The grandfather clause was reaffirmed and protected in writing. On warm evenings, neighbors gathered again. Barbecues, kids playing, music drifting. No one worried about clipboards or white Mercedes anymore. They'd learned that the real power in a neighborhood isn't held by the loudest voice or the shiniest car. It's held by the people willing to stand together when one of them can no longer stand alone. And every December, at the holiday party, someone quietly moves the fire lane signs, just in case.